Well, well, well. Today I have some disappointing news right off the bat that I'm gonna get to at the start of this video. If you can't tell, this is a voiceover, and that means it has happened again. This happened, I think, once to me in Artificer. Maybe it happened somewhere else in my Rain World playthrough. Most disappointingly for my channel, it also happened at one point during my Outer Wilds DLC playthrough. Overall, I think it's the third time this has happened, but I ended up recording an episode without realizing that my recording software had just killed my microphone, I guess, apparently. It doesn't even it's not even like it doesn't recognize my microphone. It always recognizes my microphone. It's never had a problem with recognizing my microphone, but sometimes when I boot it up, I don't know why, it just decides, what if I just select unselected instead of Koi's microphone? What if I just do that? What if I just disconnect that? I still recognize the microphone. I still acknowledge that it's a thing that exists there. I still acknowledge that every single episode I've ever recorded with this freaking recording software has required the usage of this microphone. I don't care that Koi is not messing with my settings at all and does not touch this. I think it would be a funny prank to pull on them to just... I am so frustrated. I am very sorry. But this episode does not have my voice. I will say I did just record this episode, and I did just, I recorded the episode. I was like, okay, I'll edit this right away. And I go back to editing it right away. And that's when I noticed that, my voice is missing. So for context, I'm doing this voiceover after this episode has kind of just happened, these are all things I've just said. All of this is fresh in my mind. All of what I was thinking is fresh in my mind. And so I'm going to do my best to kind of walk you through today's footage. I have to say, I don't think anyone can be more upset than me that this has happened. Okay? So, I'm sorry, and I hope you can forgive me for my mistake of not, I guess, making sure everything works every single time I record. And with that intro, we'll get started. On the bright side, I guess, about these voiceover episodes is that you get to talk to editing Koi. So hi, it's me. I'm the one who usually notices what I didn't notice at all in the actual playthrough itself. And can also, again, it's fresh on my mind what I was thinking anyways. Here, all this footage that we've been seeing so far has just been me going into the game with a plan that I stated last time. I'm in Subterranean right now, or I should say Primal Underground, something like that. And my goal for the video is to get to Shoreline and check on looks of the moon. And especially around this scissor part, I'm remembering that this is indeed the way to get to Shoreline. After a bit of difficulty, I end up getting out of this crack here and end up going down here, which interestingly it tells me is Ancient Labyrinth. Now, I started getting very confused around this part because I had no idea what Ancient Labyrinth could be. Oh, also there's a yellow thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, there was also a yellow thing over here in Ancient Labyrinth. And then I remembered. Oh yeah, filtration. Filtration is part of Subterranean. And yeah, filtration is a labyrinth. It's also pretty ancient, especially with how far into the future, this is. But it's pretty safe to call it an ancient labyrinth, I think. And yeah, I'm pretty sure going right here, I decided, is the better thing to do. Anyways, but another thing that I started talking about, and which I'll now get into now, is something that Editing Koi from last video wanted to say in this video, which is I figured out why Subterranean or Primal Underground is the way it is now. And I think it's because the retaining wall has crumbled. And it's like a retaining wall, right? So the ground is there's nothing retaining the ground anymore. The ground is falling. We know this because the train cars here that we see in Subterranean and what is Subterranean becomes the trains up in the sky when we go to Sunken Pier and Outer Expanse. So there being sky behind these train stuff isn't actually new. It's just more in line with the world outside of the retaining wall. So all in all, I was pretty smart last episode when I said that, I guess it's, part of the course for Rain World that everything deteriorates over time. I was really confused about then and there. Another thing that I started talking about a little bit was the idea that like the confusing idea, because I guess I was misunderstanding how retaining walls work. For some reason, I was assuming that like the ground that would have been subterranean would have had to have been artificially placed there, which was confusing to me because I thought, well, then why did you have to like dig there for void fluid as with like pipe yard and all that? Because I'm like, wouldn't you have like put the void fluid there? But ultimately, I don't think that's the case because a retaining wall can separate like natural ground levels from each other too as well, which I think is probably more in line with what happened. It's just now falling apart, I think. And that's especially why I can't go to Outer Expanse. Anyways, I struggle for a little bit here to find my way up, but I eventually do find my way up. I'm starting to get really cold. I don't like it when I get cold because I'm supposed to be green, not blue. Here's the second instance, I believe, where I've seen these lantern mice places, right? And I have no idea why they would be here, but they are here. And also there's kelp, which I'm also realizing that I cannot stab with a stabby pointy stick anymore. And so I tried to... Well, hold on. Yeah, I pick up that and I stab it. Oh yeah, if you see on the ground there, I tried to throw a food at it at some point, but I ended up getting eaten. So we'll skip along to my second attempt now. Okay, well, maybe my third attempt. Okay, so here, I remembered in my Spearmaster second playthrough that if I stay crouched to the ground and if I don't be careful to not move as much, then they don't notice me as much. So here I'm trying to find, like, I guess pacifist solutions, saint-like solutions, I guess I would say, like the passage to getting across these guys. Because, I mean, for one, I am a saint after all. And then second off, you know, I don't know. Oh, wow, there was a bit of lag there. That stays in my footage. But yeah, basically, from henceforth, I fly across. I know this area specifically really well from my Spearmaster second playthrough, as I was stuck here. In my edit for YouTube, it was only like 2 minutes, I feel like. But in actual terms, it was several hours, if not, it was like 2 or 3 hours. But yeah, I'm flying through here. There's a lot of lantern mice. The number of lantern mice that have seemingly migrated here is notable. Also notable because on the other side of Subterranean, the like little bunnies from Outer Expanse have also migrated here. And I assume that's because the retaining wall is breaking on that side. And then here, well, it's just potentially ominous. It could mean, I guess it could mean that something's up with Shaded Citadel. And maybe that's why they have to migrate. I'm not sure. Oh, and another thing that I wanted to, I remember mentioning specifically as I was getting across this area, which you just saw me do, but I remember that I was noticing the lack of dropping creatures. Drop wigs, I think they're called, but I ended up calling them dropping creatures. I noticed the entire lack of them because in Spearmaster, there were plenty of them, and now there's not as much. So I was a bit concerned about that. Anyways, as you can see here, I'm going through the gate. I'm gonna get to Shoreline and find out whether it's like, I remember theorizing, is it gonna be like, what is it gonna be like? Is it gonna be like a frozen tundra? Like probably not that far into the future. There's still gonna be water, I assume, but. And very much to my surprise, there's apparently an echo here. And also there are pot bugs here. That's not to my surprise. And I ended up dying really, really easily from this water current. Oh yeah, we also get new music! Oh my goodness, I love this new music. But yeah, as you saw, it was called Frigid Coast. Which makes sense. It's a fitting name for, I believe, a frozen edition of Shoreline. But yeah, to my great surprise, there's an echo in Shoreline, apparently. This was a situation that was very confusing to me. I was like, did the echoes that I have previously mentioned were in 5 Pebbles and Metropolis, maybe they fell? I don't think they can fall, so I think those ones are just gonna be gone. Possibly, probably. Maybe, I don't know. But there's one in Shoreline, and that's a new one for me. At about this part, I'm going back over here and I'm doing a bit of testing, or not really testing, just trying to like, I'm trying to stay away from the water because it's either the pop, but like I don't have enough air as I think I do, or the current really like killed me really way faster than I thought a current could kill me. But otherwise it was a scary situation. I grab a light here, which is kind of nice. I also like the look, the visual look of Saint, our little green friend carrying a little green light. I don't know if I hold on to it for too long, but here I'm testing and I'm worried about Saint's breath limits. It doesn't seem to be as bad this time. I believe here is where I stock up on food at the very least so that I could bring some with me. And here I continue on down this path all the way until I find obviously my first shelter here. And here is of course where I shelter so that I can save here in Frigid Coast. And in traditional Echo fashion, I am accosted and demanded that I go to wherever this Echo is. And so I continue down my path. I also every single time you see me going underwater, I am worried for Saint's breath capabilities after that very first encounter that I had. And also, I am very, very, very afraid of the pop bugs after this. And also, after this, as you can see, I appear to be having some kind of a seizure underwater, which leads almost to my death. I'll be honest, I forgot. I totally thought I died there. But no, I recovered. Sorry, I'm just like watching with you guys. I'm like, oh, what happened in the episode I just did? But yeah, obviously here is where I'm gonna try, I think, and get filled up. But yeah, I don't end up eating until out here, because I wanted to stay away from the currents that were in there. And then I am very glad and pleased to see that this is I think my favorite basin, or like my favorite shelter in all of Shoreline, or I guess Frigid Coast now. I'm obviously getting, berries here or whatever, and also has a bit of a stock for next time. But this is my favorite one because there's a left, there's a middle, there's a right, and I know where they all go. And, I'm very pleased. I'm very excited to get to Looks to the Moon. In the next cycle, I am very anxious to get to Looks to the Moon. I think I want to go the entire route is what my current plan is. Go all the way to Looks to the Moon just straight from here. Go all the way. I know there are shelters in between, but I've done this in Rivulet so many times. Also, it is so snowy out here. I think the snow is actually heavier in Shoreline from what I've noticed. I mean, I might just be imagining that. Anyways, here I stock up on food. And then here we just keep going this way, and there's this guy here, which, by the way, can I just say, I'm fine with creatures migrating from place to place. I don't know how this guy got here. Is it like supposed to be like, is this what the jellyfish like grow up to become? I don't think that's the case. You look like you were made, and therefore probably like a long time ago. I don't think you guys can have like babies. Like, you got chains. Are those like metal chains? Anyways, I try and figure out, I don't know exactly how dangerous they are, and here I am hoping that they're not as dangerous as I think they are, but they do appear to be as dangerous as they seem to be. Unfortunately, here we have attempt 2, and I am trying to be very nice about, or very particular about, avoiding all of their tendrils, and also having to avoid, like, I have to avoid all of them, and also the leeches. This one's all curled up for some reason right now. And yeah, the snow is definitely seeming pretty heavy. Let's see, I go down here. There's supposed to be I think a kelp thing to the left here, usually in regular Shoreline, but it's missing here. I'm avoiding going down because I'm trying to go to Looks to the Moon. And here I notice, I'm like, the ground feels higher here. Like, I don't think this is as deep as it's supposed to go. Although maybe I'm just wrong and remembering incorrectly. Then I remember there's a shelter. If I will go up here, there's a shelter, but that's not what I'm looking for. I think the snow is getting heavier, which is a bit interesting. It's also interesting to see how just like all the bits of snow and ice are like the surface of the water looks so. I mean, it just simply looks frigid. I really like how well that was done here. In any case, as you can tell, I am turning white, and after that white, I'm turning blue already, I think. And there's more of these tendril monsters to go across, but thankfully, maybe I get across it in this attempt, and I pretty much just have to get out of here. My tongue doesn't really help me, but I'm able to. And then here we go. My first thought. I am desperate for warmth. I think I'm going to die before I reach the shelter. So I hope that this thing is refreshing my warmth. But I quickly see that it's not. And then I run, and then I run, and then I run. So this is very fun. I've also noticed by this point, especially, that Looks to the Moon is alive for sure. Because her lights, but like the gravity, the low gravity is turning off and on. So I am well pleased. I am hoping that everything is okay with her, and I barely make it to this last shelter here. Oh yeah, and then here I seem to get Survivor, which is great and fantastic because it should be a passage for me, right? And then here in the next cycle, well, we start flying a little bit. I think I go up this up route because I'm like, well, there are pearls up here, you know? And also, I have a pearl on me. So one of the things I'm starting to think about or realize is that Looks at the Moon can read the pearl that's on me then. And I'm starting to suspect that this may be one of the last transcription I'm looking for in my transcription book thing. But also, not a lot of pearls seem to be alive left in Saint, so like a lot of time has kind of passed, if you know what I mean. And then here we go, except I immediately start noticing something different about here. It doesn't look as vibrant as it does in Rivulet, is the first thing I notice. Because this area is like usually pretty well lit. It's a lot darker now. And then second off, I realize there are golden flakes. And these gold flakes are that of an echo. And I can't help but wonder, is there an echo here? And for a brief moment in time, I consider the possibility that Looks to the Moon has somehow turned into one. And so I have to go see for myself. And I see she's still alive. She's still around. She's doing business, it would seem. But the gold flakes are still here. You feel it too, don't you, strange one? We've only just met, but our perceptions will soon part ways. Go on. Our cycles will meet again. Now, I was super confused about this for a brief point in time. But then I realized I think I have to go up from here. And so I'm kind of waiting for that to happen a little. And I get stuck up here. But while stuck up here, I also realize I think she senses the echo too. Like she can sense the echo's presence. I wonder, is she going to be like when I come back here? Because she says, like, didn't she say, like, we'll meet again or something? Like, will she, I don't know. A lot of thoughts are going through my head right now. Golden flakes. This was super cool. But it also tells me that she can, you know, read the, she can sense the echo's presence as well. It sort of canonizes what happens to me whenever I look at an echo. Or I guess whenever I meet one. And I'm curious if, like, she's going to be able to talk to me about the echo. You know what I mean? When I meet up with her again. And on this journey, I did laugh a bit again at the fact that I, for some reason, thought... I briefly entertained the possibility that Looks to the Moon had turned into an echo, which shouldn't be possible. And I know in lore isn't possible, but when you're playing the game and you're immersed in the world, it's something else entirely. I'm also starting to doubt a bit, like, because it feels like I'm getting farther from the echo. Like, It doesn't look... Nothing I've seen so far has been so explicitly echoey that I am confident that I'm even going the right way. And also, as you can see, I'm starting to turn white a bit, and there doesn't seem to be any source of heat coming soon. So here we go. I'm here. The snow is probably not going to be helping my cold a lot. I start getting worried really quick about cold because I think I have to go quite a long way. This area overall looks about the same. I had nothing really new to say about it except, you know, it's snowing and I'm slowly getting colder and colder and colder in the snow. I guess I'm thinking about, like, I'm hoping, I mean, especially in that room, I was confused about the echo, but this room is making me feel like, okay, well, maybe I am going the correct direction for an echo, and then I noticed there's no more shelter down here, and also, I guess it seems to be flooded, because, you know, water. Maybe like melted snow and stuff. It's really snowing hard down here, which I think is potentially a good sign, because the snow might still be a form of iterator breathing, which would be a good sign for our looks to the moon friend. But it's also not helping me because I'm turning blue, and I think I'm almost turning purple here. I'm starting to see double of myself, and the water, as you can see, I'm also starting to see double of. I guess this is what looks to the moon meant when she said our perceptions begin to differ, I guess? Something like that she said. And I'm running. I'm pretty sure that this echo is going to be all the way here at the wall of Looks to the Moon. I also noticed that as soon as I'm over here, I start turning green, which is very good for me. And then here we go. I have found the echo. You stand upon our creation. I toiled away until my final breath, as did many of us through countless generations. Research, shipments, architecture, computation, politics, worship, revolutions, all for a heap of rusted metals steeped in a puddle of frozen water. I placed my faith into the hands of random gods. Now I must endure it to the end. So that was pretty, I guess it's just mostly pretty telling about, you know, it's the creators, right? Obviously, I already knew the echoes were the creators, the people who came before. Interesting how, I guess that this one was a pretty big, you know, contributor to the Iterator projects, I would assume. I like the line, I placed my faith in random gods, now I must endure it to the end. And now afterwards, obviously, I made my way back to Looks to the Moon. I observe her for a bit. I want to see her in her work. She's got a lot of overseers. Hello, you can understand me, can't you? What an unusual being you are. By what mechanism have you achieved such attunement? Also, is that Monk? I remember asking that. That image up there. It has been a while since I had a life form like you stumble into my chamber. While I'm relieved that some of your species have managed to persist even now, I don't envy your situation. Hopefully, you can find an escape to your suffering. Until then, I'll be here if my company brings you any comfort. And so here is where I start to realize the dilemma, or the situation, of Saint. Not just Saint, but of slugcats. I mentioned earlier that I was noticing the lack of drop wigs, and I was curious, did they still even exist anymore? Are they, like, extinct or whatever? Because, yeah, the entire world is undergoing a dramatic climate shift or whatever. All of the life that exists within it is adapted for the previous environment. So with the huge climate change, like, things are going to be changing. And, I mean, as Saint, obviously, I'm the only one of my kind right here, right now, but I have a cold mechanic. I can die of cold, and things are only going to get worse, I think, as far as coldness goes. I don't think that as a species, slugcats are necessarily going to be long for this world. And all the other, you know, playthroughs, I was thinking like, oh, you know, it's I guess the iterator's dying, that's that. Everyone else will be fine, but I guess I was underestimating how big of a deal on the planet that could be. And so that's why Saint is after Ascension, I think. Anyways, as you can see here, I am giving Looks to the Moon the pearl. What is that? Ah, you would like me to read this. It's a bit dusty, but I will do my best. Hold on. All of this is normal. This pearl is written in plain text. How did you find this? This is still normal, I think. On regards of the... By spiritual splendor eternally graced, people of the congregation of... I am sorry, little creature. I am too amazed about the clarity of this data, despite its age. At this point, it's safe to say that this text has been burned into the pearl structure permanently. What a bizarre thing to have lasted all this time. I wonder how much of my creators will be remembered. And that's that. I think it's kind of funny because I know this pearl was, it's the Farmer Ray's message pearl, right? With the overly, the really, really old letters and things and stuff. And so I think it's kind of funny that this is like, you know, one of the only pearls that really survived the test of time, I guess, is their freaking thank you letter. Its data so etched into the pearl. Also, I will say right here, I noticed 5 pebbles overseer. That is a good sign, at least for the current status of 5 pebbles. I start to calm down a bit that he might not be entirely dead. Although I am now, you know, I'm not so disillusioned to think that I would be able to give pearls to him for some reason in this edition of the timeline. I think, as it stands, Artificer is the only slug cat he'll read pearls to. Which means I don't even think there's a reason to... This is also something I said. I don't know if there's, like... This is the first time 5 pebbles is, like, more useless to me, I think, than Looks to the Moon is. Like, 5 pebbles has finally become irrelevant. You know what I mean? Also, I got electrocuted and died. So, I do all this over again. And so, it is on my second read-through of this that I take extra care to mention that I can understand Looks to the Moon, which is great to know, and also says a lot about how in tune I am with this world. She also says, it's been a while since I've had a life form like you stumble into my chamber. I noticed she says life form. I don't know if she specifically is meaning like me, like slug cat, or really just anything, scavenger, otherwise. I think life is dying, either dying or adapting. Like the shadow monsters I mentioned in a different episode look a lot more gray now, and I wonder if that's because they're trying to adapt. I kind of wonder what will adapt and what won't, but the shift is kind of happening too fast that I suspect it to not go over well for most life forms. And so I feel like Ascension is actually like a really, really desirable route here for Saint. Also, she looks like she has a whole mess to still deal with. Oh yeah, and then I go back because I want her to read me the pearl again, just because at the end of the game I'm curious, like, if, you know, the pearl would count for points or not if I didn't get it read and then saved afterwards. I don't know how that works. Another thing I talked about is that it also makes me sad because, you know, Rivulet is like the last point in the timeline which I visited Moon, like in the latest. And Rivulet, I assume, kind of just either stayed with Moon, is probably dead by now, maybe passed on into like their next cycle. So maybe some of the life forms around here that I'm killing or eating are Rivulet, I don't know. Or maybe Rivulet got, you know, ascended after, you know, I don't know, getting old. I don't really know how that works. Also, here I notice I have the survivor passage, but I do not have the survivor passage. And I wonder, what implications does that have for Saint? Like, why can't I access the passage? Anyways, then I get to have some regular Rain World fun with trying to get past a giant beast that was below me, a giant beast that I just went past, and then a giant beast on this side, which I missed. I kind of missed on that one. On my second attempt, I kind of got, you know, wrapped up a little bit in the tendrils of this, you know, this one, and I managed to somehow escape it. Still don't know how I did, but it was clinging on to me and wasn't letting me leave for a bit. I took it a lot more carefully this time, and this time I didn't miss. I aimed true, and yeah, I made it to a shelter. Except, psych, editor, rewind the clock, because before I made it to the shelter, I saw this thing! That thing that's supposed to be, I mean, that's not supposed to be here. It's making me really worried about exterior and all that. because my next goal is Shaded Citadel. And here I begin my journey along the Shaded Citadel path I know well and good, except this guy, this is again where I start to question, how did you get here? You were never here before, but now you're here now. I don't know how you got here. I don't like that you got here. It's very awfully weird. I really love, I have to say, I really love the snow, like just the aesthetic of all these areas being full of snow now and stuff. And also, I start to question my reality here, because this does not look like a regular path. It does not at all. And this is when I realize I head back here to take it all in again. I think Shaded Citadel or exterior or all that, this 5 pebble superstructure, I think it's confirmed by this point that it's fallen down. I mean, this is still, like, just consider, this is still shoreline, and this is, like, not regular shoreline. I'm baffled that some of 5 pebbles would even have shown up in shoreline, but this is the only thing that's different, so I assume it has to be 5 pebbles. Like, I don't know, is Shaded Citadel even a place that exists anymore on the map? Because wouldn't it have been crushed, you know what I mean? Is this what it was crushed by? The superstructure? And then I'm starting to see familiar lighting. Like, there's a familiar sort of brown tinge to the background. There's a familiar sort of red neon all the way up there. I start getting a little a little freaked out. I also have a bit of trouble getting up here, apparently. I have no idea what to expect, except that this is looking just suddenly a lot like exterior. Still in disbelief that this is shoreline. Like, well, I get technically not shoreline, I guess. Frigid coast. But, like, I don't know. And I'm surprised at how close it is as well to Looks to the Moon, because I was just there at Looks to the Moon. But anyways, and here, I suddenly recognize this area specifically as somewhere in exterior. I start to freak out. I test if I can eat this. I definitely can. I know all the way to the right here is going to be 5 pebbles, like the actual area 5 pebbles, the actual interior of 5 pebbles. This is all the exterior. This is all still shoreline to me. Now, for me though, I'm running this way just because I have to see. Also, there's a shelter here for some reason in the middle, which is different. But, yeah, I'm just taking it in. I'm really worried about 5 pebbles, even though I think they still might be alive, or at least their overseers are. His overseers are, his. There are berries here. I'm grabbing all the food that I need. I'm deciding, you know what? I'm gonna save on the other side of 5 pebbles. I'm noticing the mice, which are suddenly, it's all coming back to me now that if Shaded Citadel is gone, then these guys, that would explain their presence here in shoreline and possibly subterranean. This area specifically looks crushed. I don't think this area is supposed to be crushed. And here it is. The entrance I know and love. And a lot of mice, and it's broken. So, yeah. Okay, well, when I say broken, I obviously don't mean broken. The gate let me through. I just mean it's not great. And also, this... First off, echo. Oh my gosh, I already forgot about that. Yeah, there's apparently an echo in 5 pebbles now. I mean, maybe it's the same one that was there before. I don't know. But second off, I was kind of hoping a little bit that maybe the environment wouldn't have ruined 5 pebbles interior so much that it'd actually be warm inside still, because, you know, iterator workings, but I don't think that's the case. And my second most hopeful thing that I still have yet to figure out, because this is the end of the episode, but the second thing that I hoped for was that hopefully, if it's going to be cold inside of 5 pebbles, then the rot totally can't survive the cold, right? The rot has gone extinct at this point in the future, and I don't have to deal with it, right? Hopefully? Like, right? Optimistic question mark that I'll find out next episode when I get my freaking everything. I get my freaking mic working. Also, as you can see, I found a background. I was like, there has to be a new background. There has to be. I want a snow background. And this background actually fills me more with dread than it does. But it's also really, really sick. Like, this is something I'd make my actual a desktop background. Like, I really like this, especially the snow. Oh, it's just perfect. But I'm also really really freaked out. It's really ominous for 5 Pebbles next episode, and I promise I'm going to have a microphone for that, and apologize profusely again at the start of that episode. Thank you everyone for watching. See you in the next one. Farewell.